Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Slimming Surgeon Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Candice Kickler. Today, I have my bestie, the hair goddess, the queen. You all know her because if you follow me at all on social media and in life, you've seen us together, and you maybe have mistaken her for me or vice versa.
Oh, that does happen.
It happens. So today I have with me Kathleen VanVorst of Société Salons. She has, say hi, Kathleen.
Hi.
So I'm going to read her bio. We have filmed an episode probably not quite a year ago.
Yeah.
Where we really talked about branding, social media, being your own person. And today we've got a great topic, but I will kind of reiterate and rehash her bio because she has some new developments.
Oh, I feel like so much has happened. It's been a year, and you and me and so much, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We will do. This episode is also very important because everybody's asking what I'm doing, and we will spill that. So please stay tuned. Mm-hmm. So Kathleen, with over 20 years of experience in the beauty industry, which she doesn't look it. So let's say she started at
because
10.
of you.
She started at 10 years old. And
love that.
She has established herself as a true leader in the luxury hair care space here in Palm Beach County and internationally. She's the founder and owner of Société Salons, the main location being in North Palm Beach Gardens area, but with multiple locations at this point. And she has a blow dry bar. She's got an upcoming state-of-the-art full-service salon coming into Jupiter, which everybody knows where Jupiter is these days.
Yeah.
Isn't
right?
that crazy?
It's on the map, but everybody around the United States
That's
knows where Jupiter, Florida is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I feel like it's almost as recognizable as Palm Beach at this point.
Yes.
Like they kind of associate the two and, Jupiter. Yeah, we love Jupiter.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so she is also a trailblazer in the world of hair extensions. So she's been serving one of the largest extension clienteles in Palm Beach County. Like, I don't know anyone else who does more hair extensions than you. She has partnered with Bellamy Hair. She has also collaborated with L'Oreal Professional.
It's professional.
That is what I meant. And
it's French.
She has been traveling the U.S., not only teaching, but inspiring other stylists of her age, older, younger, everyone. And she has this great artistic vision. It's gotten her awards from Goldwell. And not only that, but she is, a true girl's girl. So Kathleen and I have been friends. We throw ideas off of each other. We talk about growth. We talk about, a healthy life in all facets. And that's why we have really, developed this bond. And why else would I not want to have her on to talk about all the things?
That's right.
Yeah. So, well, let's just drop the bomb. I left my practice.
I know.
It's a great thing.
Okay. I feel like we need to say, I feel like, wait, we got to back up because when I first met you, and now that I've been on this amazing journey of business ownership and entrepreneurship, and you can probably attest to this, when you meet someone who just has it.
Yeah.
And the minute I met you, I knew you were destined for great things. So I'm so excited for this.
That's so sweet. It's true. It's like you either have the it factor or you don't. Mm-hmm. And you're willing to do what it takes or you're not.
Yeah.
And so I just know that there's bigger and better things, and I needed growth.
Yeah.
And I needed more opportunity. Mm-hmm. So, when you outgrow someplace or it's no longer where you feel your best,
yes.
I think it's important to evaluate the situation. And I've always heard, and I feel like this is really something that I just live by. The wisest ones jump ship the quickest.
Yes.
Not that I needed to jump a ship that needed to be jumped necessarily. However, it was more like, okay, I know that I've outgrown this role and this title and this place, and I've got to do more. What am I waiting for?
Yep.
The time is now.
Yes.
So you will find me. I will still be all throughout South Florida. I am under a non-compete.
Yes.
Which is the primary topic of today's conversation.
Yeah.
Not specifically related to, we're not going to talk about my specific non-compete from this job that I had. We're going to talk about non-competes in general because I've had non-competes since I got into the workforce.
Yeah.
And you've kind of had a similar situation. Mm-hmm. So we really want to dive into that because I think it's important for people who are working or building a business to look at it from all angles and put yourself in different shoes and imagine what it really means to someone who's signing or having someone sign this type of a document. So anyways, I'm going to be all throughout South Florida. I'm super excited. I have signed on with AirSculpt in Miami.
I love that.
I'm absolutely loving the work that I'm doing there. So if you find me in Miami Beach, that's where I will be. Love it. It's like, I feel so fabulous going there.
I keep hearing about AirSculpt. So
you're going to see it. Now that we've said it, it's literally going to come up on all your feeds every single day. So I apologize for that. But that's on purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I have a couple other things brewing. I'm still the medical director of my med spa, North Palm Beach Aesthetics. So, I will still have some affiliation with that. And the rest is, still processing. And after the new year, we'll have some more updates, which we'll find on social media.
Yeah.
But that's that. That's what's happening.
I'm so excited for you.
Yay.
I can't wait for the next, all the next chapters, all the things.
I know we're both growing like constantly. It's so crazy.
Yes.
Like
it is.
We have little hash it out sessions like on your drive home from the salon.
Yeah,
after my kids go to bed.
We both live where there's massive traffic, right? In Palm Beach County. Like I feel like we live in LA now because it's just so crazy. So we both get on the phone on those drive homes and we just decompress and okay, how are you doing today? And what's new with you and all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gives like the good thing about having a friend who not necessarily has gone through the same things, because obviously we're in completely like similar but different lines of work. But we've both gone through different challenges. And to have someone who knows what you're going through but looking from the outside, I think is so important. Because you can really get into your own head and really be, obsessed and just overwhelmed with your personal situation and the tiny little details that go into that, every single thing that someone says about you. And it's like, okay, but look at the big picture.
Yeah.
And that's what you're so good at helping me to do.
Well, you can't get perspective. You're like in it. It's like you can't see your hand right in front of your face when it's too close, right? So that's what happens. You get so close to it, you can't see outside of it. So you have to step outside of it and be able to see the big picture as it's happening, which, is hard when it's happening.
It's very hard. But all in the name of growth and positive forward movement.
That's right.
And that's what we are all about for sure.
Yeah. Especially with women, right? Like, I mean, I feel like it's hard to find other entrepreneurial women who are able to step out of their comfort zone and do something amazing, and really put themselves in that space. So I love collabing and partnering with women.
Well, and the other thing, so I was speaking to someone about this really recently. I can't remember who, but it's one thing to be a successful female who has accomplished things through being a bitch. And it's another thing to be a successful female who has just worked really hard and done good things for people. And I feel like that's definitely you, the latter. We see so many other women in our industries, in, the local environment, the national stage, who don't necessarily have the qualifications, but somehow rise. I was talking about this at a business event. That's what it was. And they rise to the top just by bullying people.
Yes.
And not helping other women and stepping on them.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're about.
It's probably not sustainable growth, right?
Right. Well, and it's a miserable life.
Yeah.
Because you may get all the way to the top and you may have a lot of money, but no one's going to go to the spa with you.
And it shows your own insecurity, right? It does.
Yeah.
It shows your own insecurity.
So anyways,
if you can't encourage other women, right?
Yeah. We are not those people.
No.
So not to get it twisted. We did, because we wanted to really hit the highlights on non-competes, we did a little chat GPT search just to talk about, or to see what we could talk about as far as covering all the bases. I'll just say, I did a lot of research on this. Anytime you're going to change careers, change jobs, like if you have a contract in place, you have to do your due diligence.
Yes.
You have to get the attorney involved, because you can read something and interpret it one way. Like, we're intelligent women. We can read, we went to school. But the legal jargon and its actual implications, sometimes you don't quite get it.
You have no idea.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I think it says this, but let me just double check, because a lot of times these are pretty big things that you don't want to miss something important. So as far as, okay, when do you have to give notice? How long can that be? What happens if X or Y, and what about the non-compete? So, for me personally, anytime I mentioned, I think I'm going to do this, people say, the non-compete doesn't matter. It's not enforceable. Oh, you don't need to worry about that. Just do whatever you want. That's not true.
It makes me so crazy. It's not true.
Yeah.
And I feel like we just need to fly that flag. It's not true. They are enforceable. Yeah. It is a legal binding contract that you are signing. And I know that people are like, well, they can't stop you from working. Yes, they can.
Yeah, they can.
And yes, they can. And especially in Florida.
Yeah.
This wonderful state that we live in, we also have these issues with Florida, and they are pro-employer when it comes to non-competes. And you don't actually have to be an employee. You could just be a 1099 subcontractor for them. Yeah. But like you said, to touch on, you want to make sure switching careers, starting a new career, whatever contract you look at, you can't have your friend's mom who you think is smart look at it. Like, you have to call an employment attorney. You absolutely have to. And you have to have somebody look over it, and you need a way out. You need to see, where do you think you're going to be in 5 years?
Yeah, exactly. And that's when you weigh the pros and cons of different, avenues you could take. Yeah, you could try to fight it. You could take these people to court. You could do a lot of different things. But with that being said, like, definitely get an attorney involved. And I would say, I honestly had multiple people take a look at mine.
Of course.
Multiple contract employment attorneys, just to make sure, because, one of them happened to be a friend, although board certified in employment law.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you know what? Let me just have a healthcare law attorney review this to make sure that I'm understanding what I'm understanding, that I'm not doing the wrong thing, that I'm approaching this professionally in the correct way. And, so you sometimes even have to get second opinions, just like we do in medicine.
You do.
And hair.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
And I feel like more so, like, you want to get second opinions because people are telling you so many different things in it. So you're like, oh, well, maybe they don't really know. And then you do come to find out that a lot of what they are, the whole picture really is the same.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. So in Florida, basically even GPT says that Florida law is notoriously favorable to employers regarding non-compete agreements, and courts generally enforce them if they meet certain criteria, such as protecting legitimate business interests. So that's a little nuance that, your attorney may say, oh, we can get out of this because they don't have a legitimate business interest. But from what I understand, and maybe you can agree or disagree, if you go to fight this in court, it comes down to you, the person you're fighting, and one judge.
Yes.
And that judge might love you or they may hate you.
Yep.
And it's 50-50.
Yeah.
So it's like you're putting, your livelihood, the money that it takes to file this lawsuit, and potentially the other person's.
Litigate it.
Yeah. All of this time, all of this money to potentially lose. You just have to know if it's worth it to you.
Yeah.
And how likely you really believe that you're going to win or lose.
Yes.
Before you do it. So in my case, I'm not at all going to try to fight a non-compete that I willingly signed.
Yes.
Because mine has certain, whatever. We're not going to go into details of mine.
Yeah.
But that is, they are enforceable. So don't let someone tell you, oh, don't worry about it. Not a big deal. Like, they may not come after you, but they may.
Yes.
And so touch on that a little bit.
So, I mean, I think, Yeah, they are definitely enforceable. And what happens is, you in a fit of rage or whatever, you may leave and you say, oh, they're not enforceable, but then they file an injunction against you, and most likely that injunction gets granted, and they actually stop you from working until the lawsuit settles. And you can go sit with an attorney, and if anybody who's ever fought something, they know whatever they tell you, it's probably going to be about double that time. So you could be in litigation for the next 2 years, and in those 2 years you can't work. You're actually barred from working.
And that's what's really scary. If you're just going to haphazardly, ignore this contract that you signed and start working, like, okay, you could really screw yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know many people who can't work for 2 years, especially in the beauty industry, like I am in the hair industry.
You have clients. If they find someone else, they may not come back.
So that's my biggest problem with non-competes is they're using them too regularly to regulate things like the hair industry. They've had fast food workers signing them.
Yes.
I mean, and
bartenders, hostesses, waitresses, like people in the everyday service industry where there's 17 places they could work within a 1 mile radius.
That's right.
And it's not allowing them to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really crazy.
So it's supposed to be about unfavorable competition. Well, you have CVS and Walgreens across the street from each other. They're competing.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Right. So, I mean, there's, 7 hair salons on the same block as my salon in Palm Beach Gardens.
Yeah.
We're all competing. That's what we're supposed to do in business.
Yeah.
And I think the more we talk about it and the more we say this is not okay, what if employers actually just created an environment that made you want to stay?
Exactly.
Or created an environment where you wanted to stay for a period of time until you were ready to move on through your growth.
And they encouraged you to grow.
Yes.
Wow. Imagine that.
And we talk about this all the time, Candice, is this growth mindset. And I get into it myself where I'm like, if I get worried about perceived losses, any perceived losses, I immediately think about growth.
Yeah.
And I immediately wait, go back. How can I continue to grow? And when your employer or your boss or whoever you work for is concerned with growth and is trying to grow you, they're not worried about you leaving.
Exactly. Right. I think that is just to echo that, once again, find a place where you can work where the employer is helping you to grow.
Yes.
If they truly are invested in you, they're not worried about if you're leaving or not.
They're not.
They're making you happy.
They want you to be happy, and they don't want you to stay if you're unhappy.
Exactly.
That's when you create these really toxic work environments.
Yes, with bad culture.
With really bad culture, because you have a bunch of people who are stuck.
They're unhappy. Maybe they're not paid enough. Maybe they're not given the correct hours. Maybe they feel overworked. Maybe they feel like they're not growing professionally, academically, whatever it may be. But they know they can't leave because, I'm too close to retirement. I might as well stick it out. I'm not going to go find another job. I'm not going to leave my family. I'm not going to uproot my family and go to a different county. There are a lot of barriers to someone who has a non-compete that enforces them to stay in a place where they're not happy.
And the fear of litigation. Right?
Yes.
So if you've never been involved in litigation, people can use it like bullying.
Yes.
It is,
it is threaten
so
you
scary.
with it. Yes. Send letters. Then you've got to hire an attorney to respond to the letters. Yeah, I've been through that.
And you have to have all the money to be able to deal with it. Yeah. And it's very, very scary. So, I wanted to touch on this because I have been through this process.
And you had an injunction filed on you. Is that true? No.
They filed an injunction, but we didn't get that far. They didn't actually get it granted.
Okay.
So, to stop me from working. So, in 2020, I was working for a salon. I was a 1099 subcontractor, so they didn't do anything for me. I had worked there for about 10 years. They didn't pay my taxes. I had no benefits. I had nothing from them.
Yeah.
So I was a subcontractor for them. And after 5 years of working there, they decided they were going to implement these non-competes. So they brought in this multiple attorneys to sit down and meet with us. And
that can be very intimidating.
Oh, you have no idea.
So was it like you with a couple attorneys, or was it the whole group with a couple attorneys? Like,
no, it was
I can just
singly.
imagine. Oh, geez. That is like bullying tactic number one.
Yeah.
If someone makes you go to a meeting and it's you versus multiple people, red flag.
Oh, yeah.
They're intimidating you.
Oh, of course.
Subconsciously. You know, they may not say they are. They may say they're not. They just want to protect everyone in the room. Yada, yada, yada. But they're intimidating you.
Yeah.
That's on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially think about where the meetings are held as well. This is all the psychology that I looked into, you know, over the past couple of years. If your only meetings are on their turf, on their territory, with multiple of them and only one of you, think about that.
Yes.
You're automatically in this position where you feel lesser.
Yeah.
And you feel vulnerable, and you're not going to be able to adequately answer the questions. You may say things you don't mean to say. You may forget what they tell you. It's very, very tough. So you got to be prepared for this type of stuff. So keep going.
Of course. No. You're exactly right. And that's what happened. You know, at that point, I really viewed myself as I'm just a hairdresser, right?
Yeah.
I now view myself, I have this amazing education and I have this incredible trade and I'm a business owner. But at that point in my life, I was living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
I had I have 3 children. One of them was small at the time. Like there was nothing I could do. They were sitting in front of me and they were like, you have to sign this contract or you have to leave.
Yeah.
And, and I fought back in the conversation because I knew it wasn't right. Like I knew it wasn't acceptable. They asked me to sign it like the week after Christmas. So
oh my God.
I know. So I was broke because I had just spent all my money on Christmas gifts for my kids.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And so there was nothing I could do. I fought back the best I could in the conversation. I put like little side notes in there of the things that I could think of, but there was no way I had enough money to hire an attorney or do anything about it at that point. So I had to sign it.
Yeah.
You know, and the crazy thing about non-competes is, you know, people say they have to give you something to sign it. Well, continued employment is actually the only thing that they have to give you. Yes.
Okay.
So that is the only thing. So keeping you employed is the thing that they can give you to make you sign it.
Wow.
Which is like, that's crazy to me. Like you have no choice. Otherwise you're not here anymore. So that went on. So I signed that after about 5 years. I continued to work there for another 5 years. And, you know, the same thing when we talk about growth, I was growing. They were not interested in my growth. They were not interested in helping me grow because, when you work in an environment like that, they really try and keep you down.
Yeah. So everybody's kind of the same.
They don't want anybody to really
be like the shining star.
Exactly. And they were, and I noticed, like I kept saying, gosh, they're celebrating mediocrity, like what is that? Like, why are they not celebrating, people who are really working hard and trying and keeping track of things? And so I learned so much over that next 5 years. And then in 2020, COVID happened and, hairdressers were, one of the big industries affected because
salons were shut down for a certain period.
Were shut down. Yeah. It was such a problem. So, during that time, a lot of stylists were struggling. And there was a stylist there who ended up leaving because she was struggling so hard with keeping her clients and having people come into the salon. She ended up actually leaving. And I was very upset by the culture that was created when she left and the things that were being talked about when she left. And like all the things that were being said. Yeah. So I was very upset about that. And I remember this conversation very vividly. The owner's wife called me. And I remember where I was driving in my car, and I remember her calling me and telling me that, that she knew I was really upset about this. And then she started in with all the problems with this other, subcontractor. And, towards the end of the conversation, she said, well, you're very important to us. And, that you're our top producer in the salon. And I said, no, actually, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because you never told me.
Yeah. Oh
you God. Never told me. So that moment, I knew it was time to go. Yeah. And so I talked to my husband. I talked to the people closest to me. We contacted an attorney. who was incredible through my entire process. So we contacted the attorney in May of 2020, and we sat down and we looked at the contract and we decided what we were going to do. He decided that I needed to still work there. That was going to work in my favor, and I needed to still work there, and he was going to file a lawsuit challenging the validity of the contract. Okay. So basically we were going to go to court, and the judge was going to say, this is legal, this is not legal, this is what, because non-competes, right, they have to be, what's the word I'm looking for? They have to be reasonable.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. That's what they say. So they have to have a certain mile radius, and they have to be reasonable.
Yeah.
So I was going to make the judge tell me what was reasonable. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So in that process, but he said the best thing that you can do is stay there because they're going to want you gone.
Yeah.
So we filed the lawsuit in May of 2020, and, that became an epic battle.
I can only imagine.
The next 9 months. So I continued to work there until November of that year. And, what was acceptable for them to do to me during that 9 months is just completely horrific. The bullying that went on. I mean, what I learned about the law during that time was crazy. Yeah. I mean, they were sending people to my house, and because it's a public street, and they were taking pictures of the cars in my driveway. I mean, and it's crazy. And it's crazy to think, I mean, and it's even crazy to say out loud. While it was happening,
right,
I was like, didn't want to tell anyone because I sounded
their
crazy.
Firstborn son or something.
I know.
I really? Is it that serious?
Is it that serious? Yes. It was that serious. It was that serious for them. And, for me too.
I feel like a lot of it, if people would take a step back and look at the numbers, is it really worth them coming after you like that in the grand scheme of things? I think more of it's ego. Mm-hmm. It's really, they want to protect their ego, their pride.
Yeah.
And it's how could this person do this to me? Mm-hmm. I think that is the majority of why people go after someone who's trying to leave or who's violated or not violated the non-compete, just because they want to feel like they've got the upper hand forever.
Yeah. Exactly. And they want to scare everybody else that works there.
Yes, of course. Set a precedent.
Exactly. They want to scare.
Don't do this, or this is what will happen to you.
Or this, exactly. Or this is what will happen.
Stay small. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Accept what we're giving you. Mm-hmm. You can't go anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are dependent on us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all those things
These are
that
the
were
things
told
that people
to me.
do.
Yeah. And all of those things. Now, looking back, I'm so grateful. Right?
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for the process.
Because you're on the other side. It was horrific going through it, like you said. And that's one of the things that these non-competes do. They really play on your emotional well-being.
Yeah.
You can be sick from this. Physically, mentally, emotionally sick.
Yeah. So, and, thinking about that, this story, I knew going through it, eventually I would get to tell this story of success, right?
Yeah.
So we're 4 years later. And now I get to sit here with you and tell this amazing story. And, I've, slayed the dragon or something like that, right? It was because, and I get to talk to other women.
Yes.
So, and I've made it my mission. In 2024, I have met every up and coming hairstylist in Palm Beach County. I've been to every school, taught at every school. And one of the first things I teach them is to never sign a non-compete.
I love that.
And so now I get to get back.
Because they don't know. Just like you didn't know 7 years ago, 10 years ago, however long it was, that you didn't have to sign that. You did, but you didn't. They need to know that there are other opportunities where they don't have to sign that and to look harder before signing.
That's right.
That's so important. We all need to do a better job at doing our due diligence at the beginning.
We do.
Because listen, we've all been there. You get out of school, you're ready for your job, your first job. You'll sign whatever they give you.
That's right.
Because you just want to make money.
Yeah.
I've got student loans to pay back, all the things. And you're just whatever, give it to me. I know I can outwork it. You can't outwork a non-compete.
You can't.
You're not going to make enough to pay all those things. You've got to either not sign one or find some alternative that's going to work for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So you don't make anyone sign non-competes in your salon?
I do not.
I love that.
Yeah. No, I do not want someone to work for me who's not happy.
Exactly. That I think is so important too. In your business, whatever, type of business it may be, why would you want someone unhappy staying there just festering and getting everyone else upset, because if they're not happy, they're talking about how unhappy they are to their coworkers.
Of course.
And then it's like, oh, she's right or he's right. Why are we taking it? Why are we doing this? Why? That doesn't make any sense. And then they all get unhappy. And then you've got this toxic culture that just gets out of control that you really can't get a hold of once it spreads like that. So when someone's unhappy, let them go.
Yeah, you got to get them out.
Well. And that's the other thing too.
It's like a cancer.
Exactly.
The minute you remove them, everyone else elevates.
Yes, right? Yes. Get out the bad, let the rest rise. And the other super important thing that I think, we know now because we're kind of on the other side, don't talk bad about the people that left.
No.
Be happy for them.
Of course.
Know that you played a part into their big picture.
That's right.
And you helped them get to where they're going.
I'm not the whole book. I'm a chapter.
Right.
Right? Like my name's on the door. I'm going to die here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to die here. I don't expect anybody else to.
Exactly. That's what's silly.
And and you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to, but I want you to grow and I want you to keep growing. Yeah. And as long as you have that mindset, and I'm so grateful to them that they didn't have that mindset, because now here's where I am and I'm so happy. But looking back, if they would have given me a path of growth, they would have probably gotten another 5 years out of me.
Yeah,
for sure. As their top producer.
Maybe not forever, but 5 more years, 3 more years, whatever, which is still more money for them.
Perspective, that's right.
Yeah.
And in a business perspective, it would have been amazing for them, right? All the talent I would have cultivated, working with them, all the things that I would have done for them. Yeah. In that, Yeah. I know.
We're just going to say, yeah, I know, on repeat. But we could play it. True. And the other thing that you kind of touched on, with the revolving door and or the my name's on the building, but yours isn't, I don't expect you to stay. You're going to want people like us, like go-getters. You want those people there who are going to build up the brand. But you have to think about, do you truly want all of your employees to be someone who has no growth mindset? Do you truly want everyone underneath you to be those stagnant, mediocre, or less people who are going to follow every single rule and do every single thing that you say correctly and never challenge, never bring new ideas to the table? That's not who I want working for me.
Definitely.
I want somebody smarter. I want somebody more go-getting. I want somebody more badass who can teach me something. That's then I can learn. That's what I would want. And I would know. And, of course it's easier said than done. I'm not a business owner per se at this exact moment, but I have been. And it's those are the people I want. And I know that they're not going to stay forever.
That's right.
And I'm happy when they're gone. I'm happy when they're moving up and going to the next level. Good for them.
That's right.
Because I was associated with them and them with me.
But that's the difference in you being secure in in yourself and you continuing to grow your own business. You're not worried about them leaving.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. I'm going through our ChatGPT list of things. Okay. Let me see if you know anything about this, the legal and negotiation tips. Basically it says employees should carefully review non-competes with an employment attorney before signing. And this is the other thing. Don't let someone give you a timeline. You're not going to take a year to sign a non-compete or a contract, employment contract in general. But if they want it in 24 hours, I'm sorry. I'm not going to get it back to you. I guess I missed the opportunity.
That's right.
Period. Don't let them bully you into signing something too quickly. I've had that. I've had someone literally hand me a contract and tell me to sign it in 10 minutes. God. That didn't really work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and let me get back to, where I was with that. So we ended up settling outside of court. It went pretty far. We started down the road of scheduling all the depositions and all
of the things. And most of our listeners probably have not been in a legal battle, whatever you want to call it, before. I've been involved peripherally, throughout training, in the depositions, the meetings, the calls. It takes up your whole day.
Yeah.
Not to mention your psyche. You're just in this constant mind battle. What are they going to say next? Yeah. What what kind of junk are they going to throw at me? Like you'll be so surprised at the stuff that they throw at you. Like I remember one time, this was years and years ago, not related to anything I'm going through at the current moment, but a previous employer, their person sent screenshots of text that I sent that I was basically, you know, complaining like, hey, if this person doesn't do their job, there's no way I'm going to be able, if they're not billing for my services, how can I collect type of thing, something like that. And that was, you know, submitted as, oh, well, she's agreeing to this because she said that. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. You just like, you're constantly on edge because you don't know what they're going to throw at you next.
Yeah.
So going through litigation is not for the faint of heart.
Well, and anything is admissible during a deposition. So whether it's admissible to court or not is that's a completely different story. I mean, 5% is admissible to court. And then, but what they're allowed to ask you and what you have to answer in a deposition is everything. The dirty little things that they may know about you. They're allowed to question about you. You're also allowed to question about them. But who wants to sit through that? Like, I mean, I'm just picturing like, you know, the FBI like bright light on you and like, you know, like, no, but that's like how you feel.
Yeah. They make you like, I remember at the time, because I had to sit in one for something during training and not related to me, but I was just like, you know, one of the 17 people that were deposed. And I was like, take your glasses off. Look directly at the camera. Please move the hair out of your face. Yeah. And I'm like, what? Like, this is so violating. You just feel like completely exposed, naked, like 7 people at a table staring at you, asking you questions right after the other. And you almost start to question your answers because you're like, oh, I don't know what I meant by that, you know?
And a good litigator is going to get you to that place.
Of course. Yeah. That's their job.
I have this great litigator who's a client of mine, and he's like, you hairstylists are the hardest people to deal with because you talk to people all day long. Yeah. We can talk about anything. We can talk about marriages. We can talk about sex. We can talk about anything, you know, like, so we're one of the hardest in depositions, right?
That's
because
so
we
funny.
do talk to people all day long. So there's not much you could say that, you know, phases us. Yeah. But we don't necessarily want to talk about all about ourselves.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I know. So anyways, so we got further down the line. I mean, it got really nasty. And like I relate this, like, you know, in Rocky, like when he goes to do that fight and he's like running up the stairs and like you're going down this battle. And when you first file the lawsuit, you know, and you first start down this path, that's kind of how it feels, right? Yeah. It feels really amazing.
Yeah. But you're like, I can do this. We're going to win.
Exactly. and you're like, I got this. I can do this. But that 90-second clip in that Rocky movie was actually 5 years.
Oh.
And so
I didn't watch the movie, so
but it was actually 5 years. Yeah. So like, but that's what it's like. It's like, it's really like you feel like that, but that's over a long period of time.
And you can't actually keep your adrenaline up that long.
You can't. And it's really, really hard. So in that process, I mean, they bullied me, they broke me down. And it ended up me working there, continuing to work there was the best thing that ever happened. They continued to bully me. The people who I thought were my friends, because you lose friends along the way. You lose friends as you know, decide you're going to do something new and different and you're going to excel. You know, the people that you knew at that time, they're probably not going to still be your friends going forward. Right. So, you know, that happened and it actually started to backfire on them where the people that were bullying me, now it didn't feel so good to bully me anymore after months and months and months. So it started to backfire on them and they had to get me out of there. So eventually we did settle outside of court with something that, you know, I found reasonable, they found reasonable. I ended up going 6 miles away for 1 year, which worked for me. You know, my guests had no problem with that. Yeah. And in that process, I was able to build the current salon that I have in Palm Beach Gardens. Then we worked on the blow dry bar and now we're building one in Jupiter. But so eventually it did all work out. I haven't been able to talk about it really until this moment. Yeah. Because after you go through something like that, you have such like PTSD, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And you know, you don't want to talk about it as you're building something because you're building something. You're like, okay, I don't even have the clout to talk about this yet, right? You know, right? So anyways, but it was an amazing journey. I'm glad I went through it because it made me who I am today. I feel very untouchable.
Well, and your employees are benefiting from what you went through because they're not going to have to go through that ever. Oh. As long as they're, in a salon or in a similar situation or have at least listened to what you've told them.
Exactly. Exactly. And I won't allow that toxic culture, So they're benefiting, and people in the hair industry that I get to talk to, and people in other industries, like you, Candice, I get to speak with you.
And I want to touch on one other thing that you reminded me of as you were talking about how you stayed there, you worked despite people bullying you. It's very obvious that you kept it professional. You kept your composure. You weren't nasty to people. And I think that's also super important because how you are in those darkest, crappiest moments, that character is what people are going to see and what people are going to remember. And you don't want to leave with people saying, oh, she was so crazy. Oh, she was such a bitch. Like, oh my God, I can't believe the way she talked to this person. Like, in all of the moves, departures, changes of careers, that has been like one of my number one goals. Like, I'm going to leave in a good place, being nice, being kind, being professional to everyone, because I may run into these people again in 5 months, in 5 years, in 5 decades. Like, it doesn't matter. And I would always want someone to treat me nicely down the road, no matter what, we've been through together.
Yeah. You definitely don't want to burn a bridge.
Exactly.
Head held high, shoulders back.
Yeah.
You want to be able to walk through that room and walk out of that room.
Yes. Yeah. With confidence, grace, and poise.
That's right.
Period.
Yeah.
So, there was the Federal Trade Commission, just to kind of like wrap up our conversation on non-competes. The Federal Trade Commission earlier in 2024 was going to ban non-competes nationally. That was set, I think they put it into place sometime in April or May, and then 90 days later it was supposed to go into effect, essentially making non-competes not enforceable throughout the U.S.
No, and I want to correct you because it wasn't all non-competes. It was non-competes for lower level workers, not CEOs.
Yes, not CEOs, not C-suite, not exactly. There was some stipulations to it.
Yeah, I do agree with non-competes. I mean, we're not Tesla. I mean, I didn't reinvent how to cut hair.
Yes.
So I do think in some
there
instances,
are places when they make sense.
Yes, where they do make sense. In the tech industry, right?
Sure.
I do agree with that. So they were going to ban them for lower level workers for sure.
Yeah. Anyone who is an employee, not a partner, not a C-suite, like an executive, not someone with that proprietary information that could, potentially impact business. But it got shot down. So basically a couple weeks before that 90 days when it was supposed to go into place, a judge in Texas, a federal judge, shot it down. There were several people, trying the case and saying, oh, this is not constitutional, whatever. And I read many articles about it just to, keep myself up to date with what's happening because it impacts what you're doing.
It does.
If your non-compete no longer exists, then, more doors are open potentially if you're that person who wants to be an entrepreneur. Or just go to a different job where you may be happier, where you may be paid better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Unfortunately that did not go through. I don't think that there's anything on the horizon kind of bringing it back to the table because, we just went through an election and things like that. That took precedent or priority. But it's on people's minds and there are a lot of people who do wish non-competes would be banned completely. But like you said, there are places where they make sense.
Yeah, there are. And I do believe eventually they will be banned completely, especially for, I do believe that will eventually happen. I mean, there's lots of states that don't even recognize Florida's non-competes. They throw them right out immediately.
Yeah, right. Right. Some states it's better than
others. In New
others.
York, California, I mean, they're throwing them out. They won't even look at them. So I do believe we will get there at some point, but we're on our way.
But also, you kind of vote with your feet, right? So if you and your friends and everyone in your place of work decide we're not going to stand for this non-compete.
That's right.
Do something about it.
Talk about it. It is.
Talk about it, be about it, do about it. Your next job, don't take it until you know.
Yes,
you know that
exactly.
it either works for you or it doesn't. Don't jump into non-competes. Don't jump into contracts that you're not ready for.
That's right. That's right. You have to think ahead, and you have to know like what you could possibly be capable of later. Do you picture yourself? Because this non-competes base doesn't end.
Yes, right.
Like they think there's an end. There's no end.
No, it's not like, oh, so you worked here for 3 years and now it's not there anymore. Unless yours specifically says that.
It's like a marriage.
Yes.
Like that's it. It's never going to end, and you can't get divorced. Like, you know, like that's it. You're with them forever. So if you don't visualize yourself with them forever, what's your out clause?
Yeah.
And make sure that you can handle that. You need an out clause.
Yes. Like mine had a buyout option, but it was hefty.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, I'm just going to ride it out.
Yeah.
Be fine. Be great.
Hey, listen, that year that, you know, I went 6.5 miles away. Like, I mean, I learned so much, and I also needed to just like put my head down and work.
Yeah.
Like I needed to just keep working, keep going, keep building what I was looking for. So it was actually a blessing to just be able to put my head down and just work hard.
Yeah. So I think, you know, we can wrap this up with giving just a little bit of advice. You know, we've kind of said it over and over again, don't sign anything until you're ready. But more so for me, I think it's important if you're someone in medicine, like in the medical field, that you really, really have an attorney look over these things. And if you're in a position where you're wanting to leave and wanting to do something different, that's the other thing. Like at some point I kind of shifted careers from a certain type of surgeon to another type of surgeon. So then for a non-compete didn't apply. Yeah. There are loopholes and things like that, but you have to know what they are. And you're not, I mean, we're doctors, you know, we're medical professionals, whatever it is. You're not necessarily smart enough to know those loopholes. You know, that's where having an attorney is so important. And if you are listening to this, you're in the medical profession in the state of Florida. It's like a limited number of people, but I have an amazing Florida-based healthcare employment attorney that I've worked with throughout my entire career from the moment I finished fellowship until the present day, who's really great. So I'd be happy to share her contact with you if you guys wanted to DM me or email me. And I'm sure, you know, Kathleen would be happy to share her counsel as well. So any other parting words?
No, I think I like what you said. Just, you know, just make sure you're working with somebody who wants to see you grow and continue that growth.
Yes, it's all about the growth.
It is.
All right. Thank you so much, Doll, for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story. I think it, you know, really puts into perspective the things that we've both been through and that we want to help people hopefully avoid. But thanks for coming.
I was glad to be here.
Everybody, if you know, you already know where to find Kathleen, but at Société Salons or at Kathleen VanVorst with V's, her tags or her websites and socials will be tagged in the show notes.
Oh, I love that.
Best in the world for blondes, extensions, and all the things, and for life advice. Yeah. So yeah, but you can't have her because she's mine. All right. Thanks, babe.
All right. You're welcome.
Leave a 5-star review. Bye.